I have the pleasure to introduce my dear friend Katy Geraghty, who will be singing with us today. Here is Katy. Katy is an actor in New York City, most recently and currently, as in between matinee and evening performance, seen as Little Red in Into the Woods. So we're very grateful that she's here making the time to be with us today. Katy went to UMass Amherst and made her Broadway debut in the original cast of Groundhog Day in 2017. Since then, she's worked all over the country and internationally, including a year at the Oregon Shakespeare Festival, which is where the two of us met in 2019. She was also in Bliss at the Fifth Avenue in Seattle and performed in the North American premiere of & Juliet at the Prince of Wales in Toronto. We also have with us accompanying, this is a change from the program. Unfortunately, I won't be playing for Katy, but you have the amazing Amanda Wansa Morgan playing. Amanda is a music director, actor, educator, and has been on the executive committee at MTEA for 6 years. So we're very grateful that she's here with us today.
What just happened? Love it.
So sweet.
So brilliant. That's a good friend right there.
So here is Katy and Amanda.
Hi. Like Rose just said, my name is Katy. I thought that I would do a couple of songs just from the lesser known parts of my career. I am currently playing Little Red, and that is round 5 for my life. And then also I've played Tracy in Hairspray at Oregon Shakespeare Festival, and that was round 4 because I am fat and breathing, so we do that show a lot. So instead of doing the shows that I do every day, we're gonna do the shows that I don't get to do as much. Yes, love it. So, starting as a little kid in theater, I grew up in the Boston area, and yes, and it was lovely, and I had some really wonderful teachers, and like many little kids, we start out with something like this. The sun'll come out tomorrow, bet your bottom dollar that tomorrow there'll be sun. Just thinking about tomorrow clears away the cobwebs and the sorrow till there's none. When I'm stuck with a day that's gray and lonely, I just stick up my chin and grin and say, the sun'll come out tomorrow, so you gotta hang on till tomorrow. Come what may, tomorrow, I love you tomorrow. You're only a day away. Of course, I did it a little bit louder and a little bit pangier than that when we were like this tall, but we like the Audra version. That's what I'm saying. We're not doing that right now. Anyway, thank you. Like I said, I grew up in the Boston area. North Shore Music Theater was where I did my first gig. I was 7. And thank you. And I was training in ballet and ready to do the Nutcracker in Boston, and my mom just did not want that to be my first audition experience, so she sent me to North Shore that just happened to be 10 minutes away from us, and I accidentally got cast, and she confirmed like 6 times that they had the right child, like she was convinced that they were lying. And it just kind of happened from there. But especially as we're talking to educators, I have to shout out that like my first 2 teachers are the reason that my career has been not just excellent, but also like really kind and loving. And this is something that we will probably talk about quite a bit, but I think that as someone who is a really proud plus-size performer, having my first teachers treat me with kindness and respect and talking about my talent as opposed to my body changed my entire life. So please look at, yes, thank you. So please look inward and like make sure that if there's a student that you've ever said something that's like even remotely not okay, like don't do that again, because it's nice when you just grow up liking yourself. You get on Broadway, it's crazy. It's wild. Yeah, so with North Shore Music Theater, they had a contract at the time. We did a lot of like Disney Junior and MTI Junior and all of that kind of stuff. So we workshopped a lot of different shows, which was brilliant. But that also meant that we kind of got to do the fun ones as we were young. So this is another song from my childhood that I did quite a bit. Yeah, I know, shocking. Why are you telling me my new philosophy? The teacher gave a D on last week's homework. She said, Miss Sally Brown, your grades are going down. I could have told her my new philosophy. Miss B, I'm she. Look, C, a D, a D. Well, why are you telling me? And that's my new philosophy. Just like a busy bee, each new philosophy can fly from tree to tree and keep me moving. When life's a silly maze on alternating days, I choose a different phrase. My new philosophy. Some philosophies are simple. Man does not live by bread alone. Some philosophies are clear. Leave your message at the sound of the tone. Some philosophies pick and choose, deciding what goes in it. Some take a lifetime, mine take a minute. It's like a guarantee, my new philosophy, and things are sure to be a whole lot brighter. Oh yeah, that's what you think. Why are you telling me? No, I can't stand it. Now life is free and easy, much more philosophy with my brand new. You know, someone has said that we should live each day as if it were the last day of our lives. And after 2020, some philosophies aren't for all people. And that's my new philosophy.
That was cute what you did there, Katy.
Oh, thank you
that
so
was
much.
cute.
Yeah, guys,
Yeah.
I'm like really funny. I don't know if you've seen Into the Woods on Broadway. I'm a delight. Anyway, so moved into high school and I started doing a lot more competitive dancing again. Obviously I was doing it in the musicals, but joined a really wonderful studio where I had a really brilliant teacher and again, never commented on anything. It was brilliant. I had a really fun competitive dance moment, but that also meant that because I was really focused on dance professionally, I guess, I kind of took a backseat with professional theater and did a lot more shows at my high school, which was lovely. Because one of the things that did happen as a child growing up in professional theater is that I didn't spend tons of time with people my age. So that is the one downside to the brilliant and wonderful childhood that I had. But that also meant that we got to do some things that we wouldn't normally do and show that sometimes I'm a soprano. It's amazing. Play the soprano piece right now. Thank you, Amanda. Good night, my someone. Good night, my love. Sleep tight, my someone. Sleep tight, my love. Our star is shining its brightest light. Soar good night, my love, for good night. Sweet dreams be yours, dear, if dreams there be. Sweet dreams to carry you close to me. I wish I may, and I wish they might. Now good night, my someone, good night. True love can be whispered from heart to heart. When lovers are parted, they say. But I must depend on a wish and a star. doesn't know who you are. Sweet dreams be yours, dear, if dreams there be. Sweet dreams to carry you close to me. I wish they may, and I wish they might. Now good night, my someone, good night. Good night. Good night. Thank you. You know, singing these songs right now is like bringing me a lot of joy and dopamine, but I'm also like, ooh, we got a belt in 2 hours, so that will be a fun transition. Anyway, I auditioned for all of the musical theater schools. I think it was 12 in total, and I did not get in anywhere, which was tragic at the time and is just a funny story now. And yeah, so I went to UMass Amherst kind of with the intention of transferring, and I hated it for the first 3 months. Then I really found my place. I ended up triple majoring, and I now have a BA in theater, but I also have a BS in psych and a teaching certificate. So I am thrilled. Yes, thank you, yeah. I'm thrilled that that's where my life went. I really do think that had I gotten into a conservatory or a musical theater program, I either would have been very unhappy or someone that the person that I actually am would not like very much. So it was a really hard first year, my freshman year of growth. And also, though I work very hard growing up in the area that I did and having the opportunities that I did, everything was very much like within arm's reach. I had to work for it, but it was right there for the taking. And I think UMass was the first time that I had to like reignite the fire under my own ass, which was needed. But UMass ended up being a really brilliant time where I became myself again, and I reminded myself that I actually like many, many things outside of theater. And I booked Groundhog Day 2 days after graduating, so we're good. But that was a weird transitional time in my life. Got to the city, did Groundhog Day, that was immediate for me, and it was brilliant. That show was amazing, but like the wrong season, but it also was a show that you do that show when you are a Broadway vet. There was 5 turntables, the show stopped every single night, it was insane, it was Tim Minchin and Peter Darling, and you have to like sniff on 3 and 4, and it's horrifying. So doing all of that really shaped the rest of my career and everything else. Like, you know, you get thrown into a show and you're like, oh, the stage is stationary? I'll do whatever the hell you want. Like, let's do it. This sounds great. And I loved that. And then I had a hard 9-10 months of unemployment and for the first time, and, you know, first getting to the city. And then I did Hairspray round 1 of adult life, 3 of life. And then round 4 immediately afterwards, met that lovely lady. And then I came back and I had a bunch of wonderful contracts right before the pandemic hit, and they were brilliant from a work standpoint, but I was really not okay. And my career was doing a big upward climb, and I do know that had the pandemic not hit, I would have absolutely had like acute mental breakdown. They were okay on paper. I mean, they were brilliant on paper, but socially, mentally, not okay. And the first time that through a series of many people saying really stupid things and changing costumes and awful moments, really like hated my body. And that's never been a thing, ever. And for the first time to do that at like 26 is painful. It sucks when you're a kid, it sucks. But at least in some way you feel like you're gonna grow out of it. So then to be hit with that as an adult was horrifying. But the pandemic did hit. I went home to my parents' house in Boston, which is also really beautiful. It's like 30 miles north. It's a gorgeous island. I just yanked my kayak down the street and was gone for like 8 hours every day and read every book in my parents' house. And I homeschooled 2 children, and I nannied with another family, and I started teaching people to dance again. And one day, like a light bulb, all of a sudden, I was like, God damn it, I will never feel that bad because of a, excuse me, fucking musical ever again. And since then, I've never been booked more, and that's not a coincidence. So, for the last, this is deep, no it's not. I had my 54 Below debut, I don't know, 2018, and this was the first song that I sang in that, but it feels like there's a little bit of like a young girl that's a little awkward, but like has her really beautiful shining moment, and I feel like I like did that in the pandemic, so yeah. There it goes again, the moment's gone, and I'm too lame to speak, another wasted opportunity. Always waiting for something to happen, but nothing's gonna happen, not for me. Buddy, I'm always buddy. I'm a girl for your information, forever in this situation, waiting and hoping he'll notice how I'm feeling. But every time I get him near, I fade away, I disappear, that's me. Never getting heard. He just smiles and walks away like I never said a word. Oh, can anybody hear me? Am I just blowing air while the whole world marches past? Still I blow and blow, though I know it gets me nowhere. I just get lost, lost in the brass. Flutes don't sparkle quite like batons. There's no visual attraction, no stimulus pre-action, pretty music. It's all the pretty that I've got. I'm special in a quiet way, at least that's what my parents say, whatever. They were never in the band. Their hair is turning gray. No, they don't understand. Oh, can anybody hear me? I just know I could sparkle on the grass, but my melody can never be heard clearly. I just get lost, lost, lost in the brass. I get so lost, lost in the brass. Listen, I'm not background noise. Listen, I make music. See me, I'm not one of the boys. I shine, I shine, I shine on my own. So I don't wear makeup. I don't stick my hair up with some awesome-tastic pink beret. No, I'll never be a majorette. I'm plain. I'm basic. And I sweat when I get nervous. I suck at popularity. People just don't notice me someday. High school's gotta end. And I'll finally find a place where this woodwind doesn't blend. Oh, there's a whole world to be pursuing. If I could just get out and leave this all here in the past. Yeah, they'll remember me thinking, gosh, how is she doing? But I'll be long gone. Oh, I'll be solo obligato, cutting loud and clear right through the tuba blast, soaring high above that clumsy bass vibrato. I won't be lost, lost, lost in the brass. And finally they'll see there's so much more to me at last. I won't be lost, lost in the brass, lost in the brass. Thank you. Thank you.
Yay, Katy! One more time, Katy Geraghty. I just love to hear you sing again.
Thanks, babe.
Yeah. So I'm going to start by asking Katy a few questions, but then we're going to be opening up to a Q&A. So just start percolating if you have any questions for her. The first thing I want to ask is about you talking about how you went to UMass Amherst because you didn't get into any other programs.
Yep.
What is it like being so firmly rooted in the industry now, probably surrounded by a lot of people that went to these programs? How does that impact your career? How does that impact your socialization?
I mean, because I like succeeded, it's just a funny story. But I'm sure if that was, many of my friends that are like having difficulties booking gigs, like they would be like, well, they went to UMass, you know what I mean? So I think because of the way that my career is when it's just been like a funny story. But I will say, especially now, like I'm 28 right now, and a lot of my friends that went to musical theater programs really just like right now are starting to unlearn a lot of trauma that they were taught there. And like, yes, I heard the mutters, yes. And I'm really, really glad that I didn't have to do that. UMass was a lot, but one of the things that that never happened is that I wasn't like casually abused by a teacher, ever. So I think even though it was a different way of learning this craft, I'm really thankful for it.
Yeah, I think, this is a room full of educators, many of whom teach at BA and BFA institutions. And so I just want to also name that with you. There are many things that I feel as performers in the industry that we talk about, the schools that we went to having such a huge positive or negative impact. And more often than not, conservatory programs are viewed in that negative way because of some of the reasons you said of perhaps having a severe impact on the performers, like mental health.
Yeah.
What are some other things that we can name that maybe these educators might be able to draw from these traumas that people have experienced that hopefully we're hoping to not perpetuate?
I think, like, let's just all remind ourselves that type is bullshit. And, like, that's not, yeah. It's so dumb. And it's so small-minded. And I just think, I just proved to you that, like, I should be a, like, gorgeous soprano ingenue. But I'm not, for whatever reason. And we don't need to lie to anybody, ever. But there's so many ways to, phrase something that, like, just really think about how much of a sponge they all are. And you do not want to be the reason that they give up on this. And so many teachers are. And that's awful. I think that we just have to remind ourselves, like, see your students for who they are and what they are bringing to the table, and, like, see them obviously from a casting standpoint, but, like, do not think about what they look like, ever. And don't just think about the roles that exist, because so much is being written right now. So if you are making them and molding them for a role that happened 10 years ago, the chances that that role is going to happen in their lives is going to be 1 or 2 regional gigs. And other than that, you put them in a box. Don't do that. Take their skills and hone it forward so that even if there's nothing right now, someone will see them and say, shit, I should write something for that person. And we would all be better for it. I want to see that musical. You know what I mean? Like, see that.
Yeah, that really makes me want to ask a question about, like, the difference of you saying you've been in Hairspray so many times because it's like typecast of what people want to put you in when they see you. What's the difference between being cast in a show like Hairspray with that expectation versus like Bliss, which is something you were doing?
Right. Well, to touch on Hairspray, honestly, I was doing a podcast that's called More Than Tracy Turnblad. I really recommend you check it out. They're amazing, and it's just talking about sizeism in the industry. And they were talking about the fact that I've gotten cast as Tracy many times. But for me, I honestly, the fact that I am fat was like the 4th reason why I knew I should get cast. I am a pop singer, I am funny, and I'm a dancer. That's like the skill set. So after that, I was like, oh yeah, and I'll fit the costume. Was kind of how I thought about it. So it was never for me like a fat swan song. It was just like, no, I'm really good for that one right there. But with Bliss, which is a new musical that I have been a part of since I think like 2018-ish, we premiered it in Seattle in 2020, right before shit hit the fan. And the character that I play is like, it's about these 4 sisters. It's very fairy tale, I know, as is everything right now. But like 4 sisters, they're locked in their tower by their dad, but he's not raising them to be damsels. He's raising them to be really strong, independent women. And they do have like an abundance of confidence, obviously a skewed sense of that, because it's just their sisters being like, work, we love you, this is it. But also, for a second, imagine what that would be like to grow up like that, having people just say nice things to you. Sit with that. Anyway, Carmela is the character that I play, and like she is obviously plus size, but she's just like a big diva, and she's dramatic. And the first time that she sees the prince, she's like, oh, that's my man. Like, we are the same person. We are pop princesses together, and this is it. And then till somebody tells her that that's not true, she has no idea. And then through then, she kind of decides to give a big old fuck you and go after him anyway, which is fierce, and they end up together. which is very cool. And like to know that my roommate was the one that he's like my best friend, and saw the show, and he was like, just so you're aware, you just made another Tracy, and like a girl's gonna want to play that. And I was, burst into tears, but it's cool.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
So I was wondering if you could talk, since you're currently starring as Little Red in Into the Woods, if you could just talk a little bit about how you came to be a part of that production and what your experience has been like so far.
It was really fast. Like the intro said, I was doing Anne Juliet in Toronto, and I was signed on to be in the Broadway production as well. And mid-late July, I just got a self-tape request from my agent. I did one self-tape, I had a 20-minute Zoom meeting, and I was cast 20 minutes later. So it was really fast. But I've also played Little Red 4 times before this, and she does just kind of live in me a lot. And it was, honestly, the second that I got the email, I was like, no, I'm gonna get that. Like, just knew it immediately. So yeah, I think it was always just like right place, right time.
I love your confidence. That's what I love best about you.
Why not? What's the alternative? Yep. Why would you do that?
One more question I want to ask you before I'll throw it out to the audience is how did you come about this advocacy work about body positivity? Was it something that was always important to you, or did it just happen?
I don't think that there was ever a come to Jesus moment where I was like, this is what I need to do. But just by being on stage, even from a really young age, I remember being approached at North Shore when I was young, with just kids that were just seeing themselves on stage, and people would kind of flock to each other because it was cool just to see yourself again. But I think, honestly, Hairspray at OSF is probably the first time that it occurred to me that this should be something that I'm a role model for. Because it's always, we had so many student groups that come to OSF, and without fail, there was always someone that I came out of the stage door, and usually it was a plus-sized woman, but sometimes it was just somebody who was just a little bit of an outcast. And I could see them immediately. They're already in tears. And I'm like, just bring it in, baby. And you just see it, that it's just a really obvious need. And then I am, a belter by profession, but also just as a personality, I'm not meant to be quiet. And I have no patience for that. So I will state my opinion. And again, with that, in the pandemic, having a moment where I'm like, why do I feel so bad about myself? Just having someone say it allows you to feel that. And just somebody naming the monster makes it easier to face. And if that is what I'm supposed to do, then that's what we're gonna do.
Awesome, thank you. Opening up to questions. Does anybody have a question for Katy? Leo will be doing some cardio to get you this mic.
Okay, cardio. I don't think so.
Well, because we're using a recording. Is it on?
Yeah, thanks.
Oh.
You mentioned that you auditioned for 12 programs.
Mm-hmm.
Was there anything about, looking back on the audition process, was there anything about that process where you might say, if they had done something different, if they had required something different, if they had a different process, they would have seen the obvious talent that was waiting to emerge?
Wow, that's a really good question. Honestly, I don't know. I've always been a fairly self-aware person, and I know I did really well in all of the auditions. I was very prepared, did what I should have done. And then, of course, there's always the fun element of surprise that nobody expects that I can dance. So then when I get to throw down, I'm clearly being watched. So that was something. But also, I had a really terrible set of teachers that at the time were really abusive to many of my friends in some really awful and unspeakable ways. And though they never laid a hand on me, I am aware of the fact that they sent really awful letters to each of the schools that I auditioned for. So to this day, no idea if it was me or them. It could have been them. But again, I have 3 degrees and no debt, so they can kiss my ass. Like,
Does someone else have a question for Katy? Amanda. Round of applause for Amanda for playing for us today.
One of the things I really want to see in musicals are people of curve.
Ooh, people of curve.
I'm a lady
I
of curve,
love
right?
that.
Ladies and gents and all folks and friends of curve in love romantic roles, right? Because I think it tells our audiences if you never see people of real body sizes, then people with real body sizes don't deserve to be loved, don't have sex, and we all do.
Yep.
So, so my question to you is, what are some of your dream roles that are typically like love interest roles?
Ooh.
What do you want?
I mean, honestly, like, Bliss has always been one without me even knowing it. Because also, like, part of the problem in that show is that the prince has not been able to pick a princess before. And it's just, like, very clear that once I walk in, it's because he likes curvy women and has never seen one. Because he's like, that one. And it immediately is, like, a really cool moment. Yeah, so it's also, like, that was a moment for being a part, like, a body that somebody is attracted to. So that was epic. And, like, people talk to me that have seen Bliss about that moment often, which is great. I mean, I think that there's, fat is not a skill set nor a type. Neither is pretty. So in those roles that are a little bit more, like, gentle and only supposed to be there to be lovely, I would love to take one on because, like, that's never been something that I trained myself to do because audiences are idiots and would laugh. So that's never, like, give me an ingenue and it's over for everyone else because I'm going to have to find something in there. Like, I played Gertrude in college, and she, like, accidentally ended up being, like, insane just because I didn't know how to just be sweet. But it was great. Like, he still ended up with me. It's great. But I think, like, honestly, anything where, like, lovely is used in the description. Like, if they're talking about what their physical type is, I want that one because I'm going to find other character attributes. Then put that in the character description. Yes. Yes. Tons. Yeah. I know that's not specific, but.
The phrase that you said, fat is not a skill set or a type, and neither is being pretty. I've never heard it said that way before because I feel like my own experience also in programs is like they are encouraging you to look pretty, to act pretty, which also in a lot of musical theater means ditzy.
Yep.
So I really enjoy the way you phrase that. Yeah.
Plus, God, we just need more smart women in musical theater. Hello. Thank you.
Another question? I think there was one over here somewhere. Was it? No?
Huh?
Oh, over here.
Hi. First of all, thank you. So wonderful. I wondered if you would talk a little bit about, you mentioned your agent, about finding representation and if you felt commodified during that process, if it was positive or negative for you.
When I booked Groundhog Day, I had a mutual connection. So a regional show that I had done like 2-3 years prior was married to the music director of Groundhog Day. Excuse me, which is why I got that appointment. But at the time, I wasn't equity, nor did I have an agent. So by the time we were starting to get our closing notice, I started asking my castmates to refer me to their agents. And all of them did. And I took like some really great meetings. But the reason that I signed with my agent was because not until like 25 minutes into us chatting did my body ever come up. And with everybody else, it was like within the first 30 seconds. Yeah, that face, very yes. So that was honestly the selling point for me with him. And since then, because I mean, there are roles that I will get, auditions for where we're both like, no. And it's just like a normally fat role. And I'm like, yeah, I'm also 2 decades too young. Like, age, hello. Like, this is not, like, I'll go in for the same thing as like Bonnie, and she could play my mother just in the way that we look. that's not, I don't understand what they don't understand about that, but loud. Anyway. So yeah, I think it was immediately the reason that I chose him was because it didn't come up for a long time. But it was in the forefront of most conversations, unfortunately. But that was also in 2017. It might be different now. I doubt it, but it might be different now.
One more question from the audience. Yes.
Hi. I'm really struggling now with not standing out while doing auditions. And I've been here like 10 minutes, and you're making a big impression. So,
Loud. Yep.
so my question is, do you think it's in your favor when you stand out in auditions? Like,
Hundo%. Yeah. I think charm is something that's really hard to fake. And believe me, I've tried. And just by kind of accepting like who I am, that's when I've become charming, because I'm not trying to do anything. And honestly, I think that like when you come into a room, when you are most yourself, and that can be really hard if your most self is quiet and reserved and everything else, but that does not mean not genuine. And that can really hit for somebody. In my Bliss audition, I walked in comically wet. Like I got stuck in a rainstorm. I folded the faux pas, didn't have an umbrella with me, and like my shoes were squeaking as I walked in, like wet. It was also 10:30. I was the second of the day, and rude. And I walked in, and the director just looks up, and she just kind of chuckles and goes, "Is it raining?" And immediately I was like, listen, I was beautiful 15 minutes ago. And like, but like had this whole conversation with them. And then finally she was like, okay, what are you going to sing for us? They're laughing. And I was like, I'm going to sing River Deep Mountain High. Tina was not on Broadway at the time. This was a long time ago. And then they were like at 10:30 in the morning. I'm like, if you would like me to come back at 1, I will be dry and beautiful. But I'm here right now, so I think we should sing the song. And the two writers literally said, they were like, Katy, we were just sitting there and we're like, if she can't sing, we have to rewrite the part. Like, it's already done. And I think that, of course, that is me being like loud and funny and all of these things, but it was just me being myself. So if your most self is just quiet and earnest and sweet and kind, there are not enough of those in theater either. So don't negate how important you are anyway.
Well, just last thing I want to ask you, what are you looking forward to? What's next for you after Into the Woods closes?
I'm going on tour with Into the Woods, which is so exciting. Yeah. It's baby's first tour. I'm really excited. And, you know, still a lot of projects that have been happening in the last couple of years that will probably come to fruition in the next few. But honestly, this was not the plan. So just being a part of Into the Woods and all of the opportunities that are coming my way because of it were never the direction I thought I was going to go, but like I'm kind of just hands off surrendering and having a good time right now.
Love it. Thank you for joining us, Katy.
Thank you so much.
And thank you again to Amanda for playing.
Thank you. Brilliant.
To finish out the day, I'm going to hand the mic over to Maddie.